Namaste and welcome to Amazing Vedas with Dr. Pariksith Singh. Dr. Singh, without further ado, I request you to please read out your latest post on X.
लेटेस्ट पोस्ट इसको एक्स को क्या कहेंगे संस्कृत में? यक्ष क्या बोलोगे?
ये यक्ष प्रश्न ही हो गया लगभग। देखिए, ये यक्ष और दक्ष का
हाँ,
संवाद है, बताइए।
यक्ष और दक्ष, क्योंकि केन उपनिषद में एक यक्ष प्रकट होते हैं, वो उनका पता नहीं होता कि कौन है।
नहीं,
चलिए,
महाभारत में है ना, महाभारत में है, इट्स
हाँ
वेरी
यक्ष,
फेमस।
हाँ ठीक है। वैदिक ध्यान अंगीकरण। For more than 3 decades, I struggled with dhyana. Breakthroughs happened, but they were not steady. Until I immersed myself in the Veda, expecting the same approach to dhyana as all modern interpretations. The Veda shattered the understanding that dhyana is passive. In fact, it is anything but passive when I'm deeply immersed in taking care of patients and practices. So, where is the sweet spot? For me, it was the complete identification with the divine I was worshipping, the guru I was studying, the Agni I was pouring everything into. I realized that I am the yajna I am performing, or rather, I am the yajna being performed. The Agni I am offering everything into is within, accepting everything already. The divine I love is the divine loving itself. The Guru is the self within. How to make it happen? A deep intimacy with the divine beloved. And I'm biased, but I keep hearing in my brain when I try to explain Rig Veda 1.1.6 Tadangadashushe Tvamagne e Bhadranka Rishyasi Tave Tat Satyaman Giraha. The Anga of Agni always receives Bhadram from Agni, and I am his Anga. That is not how Sayana interpreted it, but he would not mind my own assimilation of his reading. Suddenly, Sri Krishna of the Bhagavad Gita 4.24 made sense. Brahmarpanam Brahma Havihe Brahmagnau Brahmanahutam Brahmaivatena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. This intensity within to do yoga was always the Agni leading the yajna. And then all the equations crossed over. I think the Veda can give a new perspective and intensity to sadhaks and seekers, taking away the last vestiges and concepts of what is and what is not yoga. I may be utterly biased based on my own experience, but then again, maybe not. I think everyone can advance their yoga by diving into the Veda headlong.
Well said, sir. And friends, as you know, this is a part of our continuing series on the idea of dhyana and what we can learn about dhyana by going back to the Veda. Once again, you see how the Veda illumines the Bhagavad Gita. Some of the most famous verses in the Gita, many times we say them before eating on a daily basis. Brahmarpanam, Brahma Have, Brahmagnau Brahmanahutam, Brahmaivatena Gantavya, Brahma Karma Samadhina. And then the next part of it, Aham Vaishvanaro Bhuta. So you see, the Veda illumines the Gita and the Gita illumines the Veda. This is the beauty of Sanatana Dharma. And then the other thing that struck me when I saw this, it was very early in the morning for me. And, वैसे कहते हैं, एक दो बल्ब चमक जाते हैं. So I realized how Angikarana, which is really the I would say the apogee of assimilation. Assimilation is Atma Satkarana. In other words, you learn something, you have some thoughts, you read books, you have ideas, but they remain not a part of you. They remain what we may call a mental construct. But assimilation really means making it your own. It really means, Atma Satkarana, realization. But, Atma Satkarana, before you can do that, you have to do Angikarana. So before it becomes a part of your Atma, before you assimilate it into your spirit, it has to become a part of your body. The cells have to assimilate the knowledge, which oftentimes doesn't happen. And what struck me, Dr. Singh, is that, this process of Angikarana is actually a process of Agni Karana, because unless that Agni lights up every cell in your body, I mean, it's not just fire in the belly, that fire has to spread to the very extremities of the pores of your skin. You have to be a living flame of aspiration, if you want to use that terminology. And then, when that Agni spreads everywhere, that Agni Karana also becomes Angi Karana, because you become the body of Agni. Agni becomes your body. Like Sri Aurobindo says, when you embrace the bride of fire, what happens to you? You can only embrace the bride of fire when there's nothing of yours left in you, you know. So it is a very, spectacularly beautiful, and in my opinion, absolutely stunning in its realization, your tweet. So I congratulate you on it, and we'll talk some more about it. But, viewers and friends, I want to tell you, today is the 9th of August. We are slowly going into that mood when we celebrate 15th of August, which is the birthday of Sri Aurobindo, as well as, of course, the Independence Day of India. So, Dr. Singh, tell me, as you move closer and closer to that identification with the Guru within, how does it feel to find your world flipped upside down or inside out?
all all concepts are turned upside down, and the doer becomes the done, as it you are all, you live with this. I'm doing this, I have to do it, I have to. If I don't do it, nothing will get done. And you move around, and all that is great. And suddenly you realize you were never the doer. I'm looking for Agni, I need to find it. Where is this blessed Agni? This constant riddle, you're looking, there's a fire outside, but that can't be the solution. There's a fire, everything, electric, all vidyut, everything is around, but that can't be the solution. The sun, it can't be the solution. And suddenly something breaks through, and you realize the Agni is that flame that has been aspiring for Agni. And that's when it suddenly, the how would you say, the light, the switch goes on, and suddenly you realize, this whole idea of me doing yoga itself is a flaw. It's a mistaken concept. And so then the question is, who has been doing yoga? But who is Purusharth? Is it who is putting the effort? And the effort itself is the Agni, reaching towards Agni. So suddenly you're not doing anything. It is being done. It is happening on its own. And at best, if that, you are a witness. At best, even that witnessing is a question. Who is witnessing? That you, so-called you, is no longer witnessing. Something else is witnessing constantly. So it's just everything is. There's no. I cannot tell you clearly what it means. All I can say is Sri Krishna's shloka is uh, very apt. Brahma is doing it. Brahma karma is happening, and through Brahma you're going to reach Brahman. Brahm is the offering, Brahm is the fire, Brahm is the one who is offering. So the brain is obliged to be very quiet and just learn this new equation where you have replaced everything.
It is so beautiful when we first come across those verses in the Gita. It's a puzzle. I also used to wonder. And
Yeah.
actually, when you go back to the Veda, the puzzle becomes clearer, because see, who is offering the sacrifice to the fire? Who is receiving the sacrifice? What is being offered? The ghee, the gradam. What about the ladle? You know, And actually, you begin to see clearly that the sacrificer and the sacrifice are one.
Yes.
Just as Yeats said, the dancer and the dance are one. But here, you're going a step farther. The fingers, the ladle, the key, the fire, the offering, the offerer, it's all Brahman only,
Yes.
you see? And so it is from Brahman to Brahman and from Brahman back to Brahman, the circle of reciprocity. And so, in fact, I feel that dhyana, from this point of view, is no different from yajna. And that is why I keep saying throughout this series, friends, that we are so much in the post-Vedic warp. Our minds are in a post-Vedic warp, like we are in a time warp, okay? It's twisted, and therefore, only when you go back to the Veda, the warp clears suddenly. And what is this warp? The warp is that dhyana and yajna are the same.
Yes.
Dhyana is another word for yajna. And if you do not regard dhyana as a yajna, if you just regard it, you sit somewhere, you close your eyes, you still your breath, or you utter a mantra, or you chant something, then you're missing something, don't you think?
Yes. In fact, Sri Aurobindo says that, yoga is yajna. Sri Krishna very brilliantly, as we had discussed earlier, brings the two dhatus together, the yuj and the yaj. And you had talked about it, that the origination of this is likely the same. Yuj is to join, and yaj is to worship or
To
do the
worship.
yajna. And so it's a
No,
very
I'm only saying that we should take it a step further and remember that dhyan also is a yajna,
yes,
because
yes,
you see the dhyani and that state of dhyan, and when you say chitta vritti nirodha, that the chitta and the chitta, it's actually the Agni. You see, you cannot get to the chitta without the chitta. You cannot do the Angikarana without the Agni Karana. So, see, once again, this whole thing about shaman, stilling the mind, yes, but stilling the mind also requires a fire, you
yes,
know,
that's correct.
and without that gritam, without that ladle, you can't just sit in a room and just still the mind. In
Yeah,
fact, this morning, you keep sending me these posts. Now, I'm going to take revenge. I'm going to keep sending you a few things, but I know you're so busy. But I just read something about, how essentially it was trying to point out how people who are, I don't want to call them super intelligent, but somehow different, how their minds are working even when they are sleeping, even when they're sitting quietly. So, a hyperactivity of the mind, which is constantly processing like a hum of a supercomputer, even when the lights are dim. So, what I'm trying to say is to suddenly tell this mind, Acha, ab tu shant ho ja re, ab tu yahan baith ja and shant ho ja. Where is that Agni? So, that is why we are trying to say that even Dhyan is a form of yoga, and Dhyan is a form of yajna, and yoga is a form of yajna.
yes,
In other words, without that intensity, without that tapasya, without that, supreme, should I say, flight, that ability to offer everything, there is no soma either. There is not that drop of satisfaction which we observe. You go to the gym, you're hitting the treadmill, or you're doing your fifth mile and you go into a high. It is the work you've done earlier that produces that dopamine hit inside your body as well. So the body is producing ananda. Ananda is actually a molecule, it has been identified as such. But they used to call it the soma. They've already discovered it long, long ago. So this whole idea, either you're going to get it free by getting a fix, you know, through Prozac or through some more intense substance, or you're going to just sit quietly and it'll just flip you into another space. I think these are fundamentally, if not mistaken, then, I'll just say, using a very homely metaphor, we are barking up the wrong tree. When you go back, when you go back to the Veda,
yes,
they're never going to say, just waste yourself or just be quiet. Basically, they're saying, hey, dude, get up, get going, energize yourself.
yes,
You know, Agnimile Purohitai.
yes,
I mean, do something, you know. There is a truth to know, a work to do, as Sri Aurobindo put it. Anyhow, I'm I'm going to turn it back over to you as we approach 15th of August. I think we are all filled with that sense of, I would say, blissful anticipation, if not expectation, and putting yourself in that frame of mind, and you yourself through your, I guess, very intense, in my view, sadhana and identification. I think the Vedas themselves are opening up to you and to some extent to the rest of us as well. So please, your concluding comments on our first episode in this series.
Yeah, Sri Aurobindo has been, of course, his birthday is coming. It's quite something that's beautiful always. But Veda, I approached it in a very spiritual way. There was um, whether it adds to me as a yogi, as a sadhak, is something that we see evolving, and a lot of new things are there that I did not know that are there. As you said, go with tapasya, don't go with shamana, don't go with control, but with tapasya. And almost we are afraid of our own fire. So modern yogas, calm down, be still. No, the Veda goes, grow it. Vishvata paribhurasi, you become completely yadanga dashushe, you become one with it. And then you say, be like my father, sanaf piteva sunve agne supa yano bhava, be like my father, sachasvana svastaye. So, and then when the soma comes, the soma itself, soma is the result that brings it to that point where it starts flipping into something that's calm. The sunlight is balanced by the moon, the soma comes, and now you are transforming everything. Vayu, you bring in Vayu Indra, you bring in Mitra Varuna, and your calming comes with Mitra. The heart opens, the love is there. Varuna, widening happens. Indra opens, greater intelligence. Puta Daksham, Mitra purifies things. Your work is purified. Varunancha, Rishadasam, Varuna destroys the enemies who assail you. So, a whole different approach where energy, tapasya, tejas becomes the foundation rather than samyama and control and mastery. Everything has its place. I mean, I'm sure it is necessary, yama, niyama. But I love that purity, that almost a ruggedness to the Veda and they're very sophisticated people. But in that spontaneity, that pure energy, almost athletic yoga, we see that dynamism, and to me that is very refreshing. It's like being in as Sri Aurobindo, to paraphrase him, being in a stream among the granite walls of a mountain, and just everything is stark, bare, and you can just experience the beauty of it. There's no baggage. You're not putting ornamentations. Just that freshness, the starkness of that energy that is there, just the raw energy. And that is very refreshing about the Veda.
Thank you, Dr. Singh. Well, friends, you've often heard the advice, especially young people have heard the advice, Gen Z. We're not talking about so-called cockroaches, but we've often heard the advice that follow your passion. Please
Yes,
remember that the Veda was the first place in the world,
yes,
first scripture, which told you follow your passion.
yes.
And if you read Gilgamesh, Gilgamesh is also about following your passion. It's also about heroism taken to an utmost point. And that's what you see in the Odyssey, and that's what you see in Avatar, which grossed, I guess, over $200 billion. The latest Avatar
Is that right?
of James Cameron, Fire and Ash. I saw it on the flight. So we are going to talk about all these things. The Vedas are here. The Vedas are real. The Vedas are a part of us, and we are a part of that stream of wisdom. With those words, thank you, Dr. Singh. Thank you, viewers. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And please help to spread the word, because we are here for all of you. And I'm sure that you will also be there for us. Thank you. Namaste.